What is up guys, Andy Forrest Dean Runner here, back with another video, and today we're talking all about midsoles. During 2021 I've tried a fair few shoes, and today I want to dive in and talk about the midsoles that have really worked for me and some of the ones that I'll be avoiding in 2022. So sometimes the midsole can make the shoe and sometimes it can break it. Sometimes it can be the reason I absolutely love it, or sometimes it can just be the cherry on top of the cake. The upper, the lockdown, the fit, everything else can work brilliantly, and the midsole just couples with that to be absolutely fantastic. Either way, it's an integral part of running shoes, and this year I've tried enough shoes for me to give you guys a rundown of some of the ones that I've really enjoyed and some of the ones that I've really not had much luck with. And today we're going to dive in. I'm going to talk about the ones that I've really loved and excited to try more of, either at the end of this year or moving into next year. Some of the ones I will definitely be avoiding. If you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll kickstart with the first shoe. So let's kickstart things off with Puma's Nitro Foam. I've managed to try the Liberate Nitro and the Deviate Nitro, both of which I've absolutely loved the midsole foam. But again, this is a classic case of exactly what I said in the intro. A midsole can be the cherry on top of the cake, combined with everything else in the shoe can be absolutely phenomenal, and I've really loved the midsole. The midsole has been exceptional in this shoe, but the fit, the upper, everything about this shoe is just a complete package, or it can be the shining light in what is maybe more of an average shoe. So the midsole is the best part about this shoe. Everything else I'm just not 100% sure of. The midsole foam is fantastic. I've absolutely really enjoyed it. So you can see how it can be the complete piece, it can be the final jigsaw piece to go in there, or it can be something that is the standout in what could be maybe more of an average shoe. Either way, I cannot fault this nitrogen infused foam. Now, Puma is a brand that I've got into this year, as we all know, a little bit like the Endorphin series the year before that Saucony released. It kind of stormed onto the market. Same with Puma this year. They've come out with this line of shoes that everyone has, or a lot of people seem to have really enjoyed. Not everybody, but a lot of people have, and I'm one of those people that have really enjoyed it. Reminiscent of the nitrogen midsole used in the Brooks Hyperion Tempo. This was another one I wanted to try, and I'm having a lot of joy out of. Perfect combination between not too soft, not too firm, just that perfect middle sweet spot for me. It's a big thumbs up. Then we shift our attention over to the Mach 4, something that has been one of the best shoes that I've had this year, but something with a very average midsole. Nothing particularly spectacular, but again, just combines and works well. This is the shoe in my rotation that everything up above the midsole is a 10 out of 10. The upper, the lockdown, the fit, everything about this shoe has been so comfortable, and I have to say that's why it's up there as a contender for shoe of the year for me. The midsole foam is nothing spectacular. It's good without being amazing, but what it does is it just completes the shoe nicely. I'm not 100% sure how I would feel about this shoe if it had some kind of extra super bouncy foam, whether it would be absolutely incredible, or if I just love this shoe because it's just very much a jack of all trades shoe. And I found that if I was to go on holiday, for example, and just take one shoe with me, this would be the shoe that I would end up taking with me. This is a dual layer midsole. We've got the Pro Fly, which is the darker yellow at the top, and then we've got the outsole rubber at the bottom, and that just kind of protects that Pro Fly, which is a lot softer than the outsole rubber. So the combination of the two, what I have said in previous reviews, is this outsole rubber on the bottom here, its bottom section, kind of dampens that Pro Fly. It kind of removes a little bit of that sponginess, that softness, but it also makes it quite efficient, a little bit more durable, something that I've found has been a little bit more successful, although I think it is starting to find its way on the way out. We have managed to get over 300 miles in this shoe now. So again, in terms of this midsole, yeah, I'm not averse to trying it again. I do enjoy Hoka running shoes. They're good. They certainly need to work on their midsoles. They are starting to lag behind a little bit. I think there's a lot of innovation there there that could go on in Hoka shoes, and if they did take that next step and produce something spectacular with their midsoles, then they really could propel themselves forward as being a real massive contender for brand of the year. But on the whole, average, in the middle, it'll do. And then we move on to the Nova Blast, where it's all about the midsole. There's nothing else about this shoe other than the midsole. The midsole is what made the Nova Blast bounce onto the scene, literally. The version 1 was a massive hit with so many people. Few people found instability issues, could understand that. The midsole in this shoe is so soft, so spongy, so bouncy, but absolutely beautiful. And then the version 2's come out. Again, I'm really enjoying it. Well over 200 miles now in this thing, ramping it up. And it is all about the midsole. It's a very bog standard upper, comfy, very reminiscent of Asics models gone by in years gone by. Asics shoes I used to buy 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Plush, comfortable, padded, everything you'd expect in an Asics shoe, but it's all about the midsole. This is still for me an absolute leading contender for midsole, with all my daughter's hairs on it, with for contender of the year in terms of midsoles. I still don't think there's another midsole bar Zoom X that really comes close to this thing. It's pretty darn special, and I'm really gutted that I can't try any of the Asics super shoes because they don't go up in my size. But using the Flight Foam Blast and with a plate is something that I've dreamed of trying for so long, and everyone raves about the Asics super shoes, so I'm very jealous. But in terms of moving forward, I mean, you guys know this. I saw Seth's video the other day with the Asics marketing chap that popped over to see him, talking about the Nova Blast 3, which will be an autumn release next year, continuing with that innovation. I'm super excited. As long as they don't tinker too much with this midsole, they're on to an absolute winner. And let's talk quickly about a shoe that I don't have to hand, but again, I've really enjoyed, which is Atreus running shoe, the Artist, that uses a super critical EVA foam. So in their first base model, their first ever shoe they released, they had a very bog standard EVA foam, which lasted in anywhere between 150 to 250 miles per shoe, and they do a great subscription offering. You need to check them out if you haven't seen more about them. But their super shoe that they came out with a carbon plate in it, their racing option, uses a super critical EVA, which is kind of an upgrade from the original EVA midsole that they use. And I have to say, although we all know, because it's what Hoka use as well, that EVA midsoles aren't the most durable and don't last the longest, I have to say that Atreus super critical EVA midsole really was something special. I really enjoyed it. It was super comfy, super soft, super enjoyable to run in, and I gotta be honest with you, I got to 100 miles in it and I really didn't feel like there was any degradation in it at all. It didn't feel like the foam was hardening up. It wasn't, it hadn't lost any of its bounce, any of its spring. I really feel like they're onto something special there, and I don't know if that's because it was such a thick wad of foam and it's obviously going to take a lot longer, or something like the Hoka's. The foam is a lot thinner, so it's going to compress a lot quicker. But either way, I have to say that they're onto a good thing. They've obviously just now released their base model version 2 with this super critical EVA in it. I'm super excited to try it. I haven't yet pulled the trigger on buying it because I realised the shipping to the UK was over half the price of the shoe, which is a bit sad because the shoe is such good value for money. But on the whole, they're onto a winner with that super critical EVA, and I hope they can continue using that one moving forwards. Now on to Hyperburst midsole, something that I've tried for the first time in the Skechers Razor XS, and this is a shoe that I've been loving, and this midsole is on completely the other end of the spectrum to the softer midsoles. This is a lot firmer. Now this is a nitrogen infused midsole, Hyperburst, so in theory it should be quite similar to the Puma stuff and the Brooks stuff, but I have found this a little bit more firmer than those. Now that works well for me because the purpose of these shoes for me, or this shoe in particular, is those shorter, sharper CV, critical velocity, interval workouts, track style workouts, if that's what you want to call them, 400s, 600s, 200s, whatever. That's what this shoe's for. And I don't want something soft and bouncy. I want something a little bit firmer, so it's going to give me quick turnover, work on my cadence, and going to get me moving and rolling nicely. And that's exactly what this shoe does. Now this is a classic case of the midsole is a good combination with the upper. So it doesn't stand out like the Nova Blast, but it doesn't also fade away. It is a good upper plus midsole equals top quality shoe. So it's a good split between the two, if that makes sense. But it is, although it looks quite soft when I'm squidging it here. It actually feels quite firm underfoot, and I've got to say though, it is something that I'm super excited to try more of. This is the first Skechers. I gather there are better models out there to try for the longer daily stuff, which are a little bit softer. Now obviously we've got to bear in mind a lot of companies do have these midsoles with different durometers in there, different compounds. Fuel cell, which we'll come on to next, is a great example from New Balance. They have different densities depending on the type of shoe it's in. And so I can imagine that other companies, including Skechers, do the same. So again, I can imagine this is probably firmer than something you'd find in like the Max Road 5, which a lot of you have raved about. But overall, I've got to say again, this nitrogen infused midsole, it's a big thumbs up from me. It's something I've really been enjoying since the Brooks Hyperion Tempo. Now trying it in the Puma, now trying it in the Skechers as well. It really is a good combination. And in terms of durability, I think it's going to go a long, long way. So yeah, this is another thumbs up. And finally, that Rebel V2, that fuel cell midsole I was just talking about. I don't actually have that shoe to hand because I have found that the last couple of times I've been using it, it really has been aggravating my ankles and post-tib area due to how soft the midsole is. So this is a bit of a catch-22 for me. I have kind of put this one away for the moment and kind of giving it a bit of a rest because of that aggravation it's been giving me. But I've enjoyed it so much, it's just such a shame. It could be the other end of the spectrum, a little bit too soft. So what I found with this shoe is fuel cell is great. I've tried it in the Propel, I've tried it in the Prism. What else have I tried it in? I think I've tried it in another shoe, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it is. But now obviously the Rebel V2, oh, the fuel cell TC, of course. And now with the Rebel V2, now the TC feels like the Rebel V2, obviously with a plate. There's more of it. So what I found with the fuel cell TC is it was super unstable when I was running easy or even really moderate. But when I got up to a really good pace, like marathon pace or half marathon pace, the shoe came alive and it was absolutely, it was a 10 out of 10. It was magic. And that plate combined with the fuel cell was an absolute winner. But without that plate, the durometer in the Rebel V2 feels similar to the TC, very, very soft. And I have to say, for me personally, it hasn't worked so well without a plate. Like, it feels good. I've really enjoyed running in it, but I have noticed now as I'm landing on my feet that my ankles are really rolling in. I'm pronating so much more in that shoe than any other shoe. But then in the likes of something in the Prism, the fuel cell midsole is really, really good. It's a little bit firmer, it holds strong. So it's a bit of a difficult one for me to say. Fuel cell in general gets a thumbs up from me, but sadly I think in the Rebel, it might just be a little bit too soft. So as you've probably gathered, I'm not covering every single shoe that I've tested out this year, but I will highlight some of the ones that haven't worked for me. I have tried other shoes that have the same midsole. The Carbon X2, great example. Again, that's got ProFly in it, but that really hasn't seen the light of day this year. It's just too much of a big, heavy, clunky shoe. Sadly, I have better offerings than the Carbon X2, and it was a shame because I love the Carbon X1. It was my first racing shoe, but I've enjoyed the Rocket X a lot more, which kind of feels like the Carbon X2 is where it should have gone to. That feels like a better successor to the Carbon X1 than what they did with the Carbon X2. The Carbon X2 just kind of like was the Carbon X1 but on steroids. It was very bulked out, very bulky, much heavier, and sadly just not quite as an enjoyable shoe, but with that ProFly midsole that I do enjoy. So that's why I haven't incorporated it into the video. But a couple of ones that I haven't really enjoyed, you guys know, React midsole, the Pegasus 38. I got that to 48 miles. I thought, shall I slog it out to 100? I'm just not really enjoying the shoe. For me, it was slightly better than the Peg 37 for whatever reason, but I still didn't enjoy it. I had better shoes and I thought I want to enjoy the mileage I've got, and although Nike very kindly sent me the shoe, I just don't enjoy running in it. So I haven't put it, and you know my thoughts on React midsole. It's not enjoyable for me. It is rather heavy and bulky. A lot of people in the smaller sizes do report that it's a lot softer and a lot better, but for me in the bigger sizes, and a lot of other YouTubers will confirm, people like Ed Budd and Tim Gross will all say that when we get to our sizes, React can go rather thick and bulky. Hey, look at the Zoom Fly 4 and the 3, look how heavy those things are, full on React with a plate. It's absolute madness. And then of course the other one that really was a massive disappointment was Boost in the Solar Glide 3. I love Boost, I loved it in my Ultra Boost 19. But whatever they did in the Solar Glide 3, that's possibly the worst shoe I've tried this year. And again, I think I've got 20-30 miles in it and I just haven't enjoyed it. So in terms of midsole in itself, Boost, I still enjoy it, or I enjoyed it from the Ultra Boost, but whatever the hell they did with it in the Solar Glide, it was really a massive, massive thumbs down. So there we go, those are my thoughts on the midsoles that I have tried out this year. I'd love to know in the comments below what your favourite midsoles have been this year, what's really surprised you, what's been your go-to, and what really has turned you off from trying more shoes in a certain brand. Appreciate your time today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment and let's get that discussion going. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.